Hello everyone, it's me Clayton. I just finished watching Andor, the first 3 episodes of Andor, starring Diego Luna, Stellan Skarsgård, and several other people, as this is essentially a prequel to Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Now, Rogue One, a Star Wars story is one of those movies that I think is probably the best one that Disney's done with the Star Wars license. Essentially telling a prequel story to the entire original trilogy, Rogue One basically told the story of the rebels who were able to find the Death Star's weakness and who had to transmit that information over to the Rebel Alliance. And we found that the weakness of the Death Star was actually made there on purpose. Probably the most money that anyone had to spend to fix a plot hole. So in Andor, we get to follow one of the main characters of that movie, Cassian Andor, played by Diego Luna, as he meets a whole bunch of characters 5 years before Rogue One ever happened, and as he sets on the path to become the Rebel Alliance guy that we knew from that movie. So yeah, it's essentially building upon one of the original stories that Disney made for the Star Wars universe, and I think it does pretty well for those first 3 episodes. Not only do we learn that Diego Luna's Cassian Andor was originally from a planet called Canary, we also find out how he goes to a planet to look for his sister and ends up killing 2 security officers for this organization that happens to be allied to the Empire. So Cassian ends up a wanted man as he's got to escape, and he has to join a rebel alliance that has this member played by Stellan Skarsgård, as it seems that Cassian's ideals are going to be built after meeting up with the Rebel Alliance ever since he was a kid back in Canary. Considering how there's a lot of different bits and pieces and a lot of characters to go through, I can see why they decided to release the first 3 episodes right away. Because this is a series that likes to deliver things slow and easy at first. And it gets to the big plot beats when it's good and ready. Therefore, there's no rushed pacing, and there aren't that many lines that really feel like they're out of place. Instead, this feels like the most mature and honestly the most like a Rebel Alliance that the series has felt like so far. I said before that Rogue One felt the most like a war that Star Wars has ever had, and this has a similar tone to it, almost like the directors were big fans of Gareth Edwards' work on that film and decided to essentially replicate it in the series, and it really is effective here. There's genuinely a decent amount of violence. There's a few swear words. There's a romance that isn't exactly R-rated, but it is more PG or PG-13 when it comes down to it. And it definitely feels like this is a series that treats its audience with respect when it comes to how it writes its characters. It doesn't have that much exposition. Instead, its world building is delivered in a pretty natural way, especially when it comes to the planet that Diego Luna's Cassian is on. Like, there's this bell in town, and a person hits it, and I'm like, well, I don't need an explanation as to why that bell works, but it's cool to see that detail fleshed out here. Same with the different alien races that are on the planet Cassian's on, the different characters that he meets and how they're fleshed out in one episode after being introduced in another. It feels like a proper way a series should be built up, as it gets to those answers when it's good and ready and lets its audience think of it, rather than just sending them to one location after another and hoping that they can catch up, or in hoping the audience can think for themselves. I'm glad that it allows the audience to think for themselves. And when it does get to its action, and when it does get to its more gritty moments, it feels very earned in that respect. Especially since Diego Luna, Stellan Skarsgård, and the rest of the cast deliver pretty good performances so far. It's an ensemble cast, but Cassian is kept at the forefront of the story so far, and I'm interested to see how his character develops after what we've seen in the first 3 episodes. Especially since we see him as both the thief with a tough side as an adult, and the more impressionable young boy he was back on Canary. I'm interested to see what they do here, because I think this is the strongest start for a Disney Star Wars show that I've seen in a long time. So you'll definitely be seeing weekly reviews from me. See you next time.